Hello, present, powerful, and purposeful mompreneurs. I am going to very quickly just make sure that I'm showing up live inside of the group. And hopefully Kim will find me quickly. Sorry, having a moment. So say hello as you're jumping on. And Kim, once you are here, just request to join the broadcast. Okay, I can see myself. So whoever is watching, say hello. I'm not sure if I can. I'm gonna try and invite. Here we go. That should work.
Hello.
Hi.
I was trying to get from the computer as well, but yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah, you never know. Okay, so all of you ladies, as you jump on, say hello. If you are watching the replay, drop a hashtag replay. We are talking with Kim today about planning your next best date night. And Kim works with moms to recreate the romance in your relationship if you've been together a while and things start fading. So very exciting. Kim, tell us a little bit more about yourself, because we always describe ourselves better than someone else.
I don't know. Sometimes, I hear other people describe me and I think, oh, that sounds good. I should get to know that person.
That's funny.
I do help moms bring the romance back to their relationships. That's the area that I've been working in most recently. And I ended up working in that area through my work with other moms who were actually trying to learn Spanish and learn about Latin American cultural awareness because they were in relationships with partners from Spanish speaking cultures. And what came out of that is that a lot of issues language barriers are real, cultural barriers are real.
Of course.
Sometimes, the biggest issue is it can be a male-female barrier, and how we think and how we view the world so very differently. I was all of 17 when I read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and I thought, wow, that is so true. I have to go pull that book back out. I wonder if I can even find it.
No doubt. Yeah, I don't know if I ever actually read it. I just heard the saying so many times, but yeah, that would be interesting read for sure.
I mean, 20 something years later, take a read of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, and I love the twist. I love the language piece and the multicultural piece. I think that's fantastic. And it makes what you do so very unique, which is awesome. So as far as date nights go, though, I know I struggled to implement them in my relationship. So I'm sure lots of people do. And I'm sure that having someone give us suggestions for actually like things that are more effective would probably be really helpful. So why would you say that date nights are even important?
All right. So, and yes, obviously in this case, both partners be willing to make the effort for the date. And I would say in many cases, both partners are, they just need the tools and the time and the kind of push to get it done.
Yeah.
So and it's important for several reasons. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, you've got to date your mate.
You got to date your mate. Yeah, I have, and it's true. It's very true.
It is, and it's because after gosh, even 2-3 years of being with the same person, especially if you're living together, it's easy to get. We think we know them. We think we understand them. Many times we're making for them. Many times we're anticipating what they will say or do or think about something else. And it's like this person, I don't want to say they become like another piece of furniture in our house, but we take it for granted. They're there. We understand them. You know, there's nothing new to discover. But actually there is always something new to discover, because we aren't static. We don't stay the same as we were from, you know, even a couple months ago.
Yeah.
You know, all of us think about who we were in January, and now we're in July, especially this group who are like actively building businesses. We've changed a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so, and our partners are similar, even if they aren't building businesses the way we are. They do. And that's why it's important to be asking questions and getting to know them. And one of the ways we can do that is treat the date night as something special, and treat the date night not just as something to check off a list. And I hear it so often, ladies, when we discuss what do you want more of in your relationship, what is missing in your relationship, and the top 3 things are always, we don't go out anymore, so they want date nights, they want quality time, they want connection. Right. So today's conversation is focused on the date nights. And the date nights also not just help us to get to know our partners again and again and again, but it reminds us to have fun. Our relationships can become, they can become monotonous, they can become a routine, they can become something that doesn't feel light and fun, and they aren't always going to be light and fun. Come on, we're human, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's and the change thing too, like, oh my goodness, I actively try to change all the time, so so literally, like, we're constantly changing. And and you know, I have to say I probably was guilty of that, of assuming that he wasn't. And I think that even when we're not trying to change, you're right, we're all constantly changing a little bit. So
yeah, we are. We really, really are. You know, just even last month, my boys had a hockey tournament, and I messaged my husband, and I'm like, "Oh, can you bring one of the beach chairs so I can sit on it, because those cement bleachers are hard on your back." Already almost there. He's like, "Well, I didn't think you wanted one, because, you know, it would make me kind of stand out, because I'd be there and in my own little beach chair." And I'm like, that's not even a thing. He's like, "What, for you? If I could put you in a bag with a vent, you would be happy hiding from everyone." Like, that's how you see me. And I know I really was like that. I mean, Brianna, you and I talked about, you know, visibility already being such a, you know. So I'm like, but I'm not like that anymore. And so, yeah, next time, just bring the beach chair. It's fine.
I'll suck it up.
Oh, it's we always kind of, sometimes we over romanticize or over glorify how great things were in the beginning.
Yeah.
But the reality is, in the beginning, we were excited to see each other. We did smile more. We did plan our outfits better. You know, we put effort into those first, think about our first few dates even, you know. And so we want to kind of recapture that spark that we had back then. We're not those people anymore. It's never going to be just like it was, but we can still build that excitement back up. And that's why the date night is important. That's why it can't be treated as just a thing to check off the list and like, oh right, yeah, we went to the movies, we had date night.
Yeah. It's yeah, that's a really good point. I'm just thinking of, like, as I was trying to implement them, I wonder if I was treating them as more of a checklist thing or not. I'm not sure. So what are some of the things that we can do to prepare to have an effective date night? Like
yeah. So again, I know a lot of people like to say, oh, we do it once a week, or we try to do it a couple times for the month. And in a way, the frequency isn't as important as the quality of them. Now, I'm not saying let 6 months pass and you haven't gone on one.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't, and again, that whole thing about making it routine, it's not supposed to be routine. So if it's something that doesn't happen overly regularly, what happens is there can be a little bit more anticipation about it.
Okay.
So like asking your partner out. Now, preferably he asks you, that'd be better, that kind of maybe it recreates a little more of what it was like in the beginning. It's the 21st century. Technically I asked my husband to marry me, but then he says that I was drunk, so it didn't count. Well,
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh my goodness.
but yeah, so we can ask them. We can ask them out.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it. Feel free, you ask him out. And then commit to the date. So one way to think about it is if you had an important call coming up, for your business, or if you're in a 9 to 5 and you have a boss and you have a meeting with your boss, you're making that a priority. You're not going to miss that meeting for anything, barring emergency, and treat the date night with that same importance. Whatever you make important in your life that you would not miss, treat this date night with that same level of intensity.
Right.
It has to be a priority. And I think we talked about last night I had done this post about one of my clients who did just that. She made the date with her partner, with her husband, and they went out. And again, I come back to that issue of what I think many of us in this group are going through right now as well. We're building businesses, and we don't even, I think, realize how busy we are. I know I am guilty all the time, Yeah. And I'm like, sometimes I come downstairs and I'm like, oh, let's go do this. And my husband is like, well, where were you all night?
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's so true. We make it difficult sometimes for even our partners to be spontaneous with us because we are so busy doing. So even if it's like, in order to kind of have that space free, maybe block out a couple nights. We say like, on Wednesday nights, I'm not going to be working, so I am open for anything. Or if we can't commit once a week, change it out. Just on your, we have our calendars. Just block out random areas where anything can happen, and that way we're prepared for a planned date night or even just one that happens organically.
Yeah. I love that. That's a good idea. Yeah.
And then tease. If you have that date night planned, you can do teasing as you lead up to it. Like, what are you wearing? What are you wearing underneath that? What it's just keep it light, keep it fun, keep it flirty. Hint at things you'd like to do, hint at things that that you want to see. Just flirt, tease, think back what it was in the beginning and treat it that way. Make it into an event.
I think that sounds really smart, but also really hard. I think it would be really hard to be like trying to get back into that headspace of like, because I don't think that we deliberately choose to be the flirty way that we are at the beginning. So I think it would be hard to be like, how do I do that now? Right. Where, you've gotten so, like you said, you get so used to each other and you get so like everything just becomes, they're not a piece of furniture, but they're very just static in your life, right? So to try to go back to like being excited to flirt with them and stuff would be, it sounds hard, actually. I mean, it sounds simple, but also very complicated.
You're absolutely correct. It is. In some cases, for some couples, it is easier, and in others, it is. Especially if you are in an area in a time when you're not really talking to each other very well. And so what I mean is, conversations, the pleasant conversations are the ones that are about the routines. But then, once you're not talking about the kids and the day-to-day stuff, the conversations are tense, then yes, it can get really, really hard to do the flirting and to do the teasing. And that's the time when we do have to kind of just, if we want to do this, kind of stop and think, okay, who was I? And okay, we always like to think, who was he back then, right? Or to say, this is what he say. Okay, great. So we make a note of that. Okay, who was I? What was I doing? What was I saying? What was I thinking? And pull little things that we can from there. Now, I mean, I have a handout. I can post it again at the bottom about, fun and flirty text that you can send to your partner during the day. But Google it, even. You can find tons of these things online. How to flirt with my husband, how to flirt with my wife. It sounds so trite. And I remember at one point when I read these things, I'm like, really? That's so easy, so corny. Like, why would I ever do that? But it doesn't mean you have to follow every single thing. But there might be a list of 20 things, and just one, like half of a comment, really stands out to you because it reminds you of a joke that you had with him.
Yeah.
And those are the things you kind of have to like try to pull out and then build up. And even something simple as shave your legs.
Yes. We can get so bad for not doing that with our relationship.
I mean, I don't have the problem of winter, but I remember when we used to live in England, and there were times I'm like, oh my God, what is going on?
No one's seen my legs in so long. It's just, yeah.
But there are those little actions we can do to kind of put ourselves more into that feminine, flirty frame of mind. And I come back to this saying again, and I know I have a lot of these sayings, but they're true. You can't act your way. You have to act your way into feeling. You can't feel your way into acting. If you wait until you feel like being, if you wait until you feel like having fun, if you wait until you feel like shaving your legs, you may never get around to it.
Well, literally. Who feels like shaving their legs? So. Yeah. Oh, no, I love that. And I mean, really, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of cheesiness. Sorry, my voice. But like, I don't know. I personally love cheesy. I think cheesy's hilarious. My husband, not so much, but but he would think I was insane if I was sending him cheesy jokes. But so, it's not everyone is that way though. So if it's appropriate for your relationship, then perfect, right? It's and I think no matter what, even if you were to think I was crazy, it still would be fun, right? Like it's still just like a playful thing, which is not bad. So yeah.
Exactly. And he will catch on, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you think it's better to do date nights in or out? Like at home or away from home?
So it depends on each couple, and it depends on what you may be going through at that. My personal preference for me is at home, just because I find I am 100 times more relaxed. So, I mean, I will do the whole thing about, set up the house to look nice and pretty, because it irritates me to see my laundry lying around or to see the children's toys. Even if I kind of like shove everything behind the sofa that we're not going to be seeing, I'll do that. And I'd still do the whole dressing up and all of that.
Yeah.
I am definitely more relaxed at home, and because I'm more relaxed, I can be more fun and flirty and feminine, and he enjoys that. So then his reaction to that is also just as positive. But what I find is that very often we kind of build up date night, and there's a pressure on it because we think we have to go sit together at a restaurant or a movie, and we have to have engaging conversation. And then what are we supposed to talk about? And well, we don't talk about the children, and we don't talk about the things that make us argue, So then we're in that, what are we supposed to talk about now? And so this is where going on things like a walk or a drive become very useful. And again, you can decide how you want to treat it. Maybe you pack a little, some little snacks that you can eat easily in the car. You put your travel drinks and you have a picnic while you're driving or while you're walking. But what happens with that constant changing of scenery? Two things. One, you're in motion. Even if you're driving, you're in motion. So you want your emotions don't get stuck in one particular place.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the changing scenery, conversation topics will naturally develop or emerge. And then you can take it from there. And as you know, as one tree passes, or one dog in the street, or the random cow, or live the chickens, it just depends on what you see, but they'll lend themselves to random topics, random jokes, random TV shows you might remember. That takes care of the conversation. So particularly when you're in a hard space of communicating, and a date night out where there are other people, other objects going around, that helps a lot.
Yeah, I would think so. And I
Yeah.
see we have a couple of people watching with us that are saying hello. Caitlin is here. Yvette is here. Hello, ladies. And Caitlin says that she loves to do date nights outside the home. So I think as long as you, like you said, if the communication isn't struggling, there's not that pressure to like go have a conversation at a restaurant or something. But I love your solution, the drive or the walk, where there's just that outside influence that you can use to fuel the conversation, because it can be really hard. That was a big thing for me, was trying to start a conversation that didn't either spark an argument, or that wasn't about the kids or the chores, or like the everyday stuff of life, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah,
And
so Caitlin, let us know what your favorite thing to do outside the home is when you go on date nights with your husband. And yeah, so what about after date night? Like, what about not just in the moment, but like, how do you carry that onwards, that romance and that playfulness?
yeah, well, we can start with saying thank you,
Hmm.
which is something simple, but I think also tremendously underrated. And I know
Yeah.
that that's a whole separate topic. But the reality is, when we show appreciation for things we enjoy, we're kind of inviting it back in. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
saying very important, especially if we genuinely had a really great time. Um, the other thing is, and this one again is a little bit cheesy, but even like a simple little token, especially if it's something that you don't do very often. And when I say a token, I don't mean like get a piece of jewelry. I mean like you're in the dollar store and you see a cute pen that makes you laugh, and you pick it up and you give it to them or something. I'm just saying, just simple funny things that just again show that level of appreciation. And then commit to doing it again. You don't have to commit to a particular date as yet, because schedules, but
Yeah.
it's like, what, let's not let another 4 weeks pass without us at least planning something again. So commit to make that plan. Sorry. And it can't be the same things over and over again. As much fun,
Mm.
you can't repeat it over and over, because then it'll just get boring. Novelty, that's what
Yeah.
keeps our brain sharp. That's what keeps us engaged. So yeah, maybe the next time you can try to recreate it, but then the third time, no, switch it up.
Geez, I think a lot of people, like in the phase of just starting to date somebody, could use that advice to change it up, right? Like
Yeah,
it's so easy to just fall into a pattern of like, this one worked once, so we're gonna stick with it, right? It's just
that's
easier.
right.
Um, Caitlin says she likes to go for drives. Caitlin, let us know what the funniest topic of conversation based on outside influence on a drive is, because I think like just listening to you suggest like cows and chickens and stuff just makes me laugh. Like I just and Yvette says it's hard having date nights when you have kids and no one to watch the kids go out. Yes. It is 100%. So in that case, I mean, if it's easier, have the
Yeah,
date nights at home, right? Like you can still have them, absolutely. Like Kim was saying earlier, you can you can clean up the house so it looks all nice and it's a pleasant environment, and then you can also still dress up. You can still do all of that. I think that is really important to make it special like that. That's something I never tried doing.
yeah. Like at your house, pick in your living room even, or basement, or where, anywhere you have that kind of empty space that you can use. And yes, kids may wake up,
Yeah.
and join you, and but it's all stage of life, But
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Huh.
And Caitlin says, yes, I love novelty. Hubs is a super creature of habit. So, Caitlin, do you have any ways that you get him to change it up at all? Or do you just kind of let it be static? I'm curious. I'm curious because you know what? I tried. My husband wouldn't even do the date nights. And as everybody knows, I'm separated now. So it's like I can't even, but I definitely did not know all these different ways of trying to implement either. So, maybe something would have worked. Who knows? But,
Yeah.
whatever. But I am curious, like, because so was my husband, a creature of habit. Like everything was exactly the same all the time. So I'd love to know if there's like ways that you get him out of his, static loop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Kim, do you have recommendations for how to get them out of it?
Um, yes. So I have to
Put
think
you on the
about,
spot, hey?
yeah. Um, Part of it is you being you initiating the change. And I don't mean, when I say by initiating the change, I don't mean like saying, why don't we try this? It's more like you get stuff ready and you say, come, let's go, or come, let's do this. What is happening now? All right. Or
I
you
like
want to,
that.
this is how we're having dinner. So, all
I love it. I love it. I love the attitude. Oh, that's awesome.
it may or may not,
Um,
again, we have to put the action in. They can always veto. How, we do it too. They give us an idea. Oh no, I don't want to do that. But yeah, if it's like right there in front of you, it's kind of hard to say no.
yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Caitlin says it's an ordeal currently to get a designated date night. I feel you on that one, Caitlin. 100%. I feel you on that one. And part of that, I think, again, just knowing Caitlin, knowing the age of her kids and stuff, part of that is probably to do with the stage of life, like you said, right? And then there's always the element of we just get stagnant in our relationships, probably as well. And yes, having to initiate. Caitlin says she has to initiate. I think that's fairly common. I think, and I mean, obviously it's a stereotype, so there's no like one rule fits all, but I think that men in general just they're less concerned about the romance part of it in the first place. So I think probably like down the road in the relationship, as we get deeper into a relationship, it is probably more often that the woman is feeling the lack of connection than the man, because as long as there's still a physical connection, the man is more likely to be fine, right? Where the woman needs that mental connection, the spiritual connection kind of thing. Yeah, well, and it's true, right? And not that there's no women that are more physical or no men that are more emotional, obviously, but
No.
it's I think stereotypes are there for a reason at the same time, right? Majority of the cases, this is the way it is. And so I think it's really important to acknowledge that and just say, if anybody's going to do it, it's got to be me, right?
Yeah.
You can't wait for them forever. If you wait, things just will
Yeah.
fall apart. And
Drop your hint. Not so subtle. Sometimes they don't need subtle hints. They need
yeah,
outright, like, what?
we're doing this. Yeah, because no, they don't get subtle, right? Most of them don't get subtle. So yeah, I probably did subtle for too long, to be honest. That's probably one of the mistakes I made for sure. So okay, so I mean, this is all fantastic. We're at about a half an hour now, and I don't know how much longer we'll keep people's attention anyways. So I would love to know, Caitlin. We won't complain. It's good for your relationship. I won't even repeat it. No, I'm just joking. Spicy. So, tell us a little bit about how you work with moms. What do you offer as ways for them to work with you?
Sure. So I have what I call the romance restoration package, and it's a coaching program. It's months. We work together for those 90 days. We meet around we meet about 3 times each month for 30 to 40 minutes, depending on what's going on. I'm just pulling up my description because I know we talked about it and I haven't.
And I didn't write out the whole thing to remind myself because I would have. I do know that it's the 3 months to renewed romance and reconnected to your partner. I loved how you worded that.
Because that's what we need, you know, that's the point of this coaching program, that we're not starting from ground zero. We have a perfectly good relationship. We just want to make it better. We want to enjoy it once again. We want to really be excited about it. So that's why, you know, 3 months to renewed, reconnected, and romanced, because that's what we want. And that's, for so many of us, just feeling romanced helps us to feel reconnected. So that's what, exactly. But there are different ways to get to that point. So that's what we focus on in this program, because one of the first things we need is a safe space to talk about our relationships, to talk about our fears and frustrations.
Well, and one of the posts that you put up talking about not talking to anybody and everybody about your relationship, that's huge, right? It's really easy to fall into with our friends and our family. And you're so right. It just opens the door into our relationship and it's none of their business. So having that safe space to speak to somebody who is not going to continue to push their way back into your relationship, that's huge. I think that is really, really important. So
it is, because we need to vent. Let's not pretend as if we can just constantly hold it all in. We need to vent.
Then you explode.
Exactly. For some people, you know, the journaling thing doesn't work, you know, so. But if it does work, that's another thing to think about. If when things are really frustrating, you write down, and then you feel about it in the morning, because sometimes the next morning you realize, oh, I'm actually not that worked up about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Caitlin, we love you too, FYI. And she says romance is so important. It is. And I think, again, though, I think that it is more important to women sometimes, you know. Although not necessarily, okay, so not more important to us, but we think of it more. I think it's just as important for them. I just think that they don't realize as easily as we do, right, that we're missing it.
Exactly. So what else do we dig into, you know, what okay, so as we're talking about romance. What does romance look like? So I know I used to say all the time, I want romance, I want to feel romanced, and then I was actually in my own relationship coaching, and my coach was like, what does romance look like? I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome when we don't actually know what we want, but we're being demanding, right?
Okay, so here is that's one of the things, you know, we have to figure out, what does romance look like for us? What does quality time look like for us? What is this connection we are seeking? And we talked about it. What connection looks like for women is different for what it looks like for men. So we're focusing on us in the beginning, though, because we have to be that positive change. We have to kind of give that signal off of, hey, I'm a fantastic woman right over here, and I am giving you all of these fun, feminine, flirty, great vibes. I need to reciprocate that. But you know what? I'm making sure you get it. I'm a good deal. So
yeah. Oh,
so
that makes sense.
Yeah, I need to be clear. What is it that we want from them? Because if we're not clear, then how do we know if we're getting it or if we're not getting it? So And then we talk about healthy habits. What are things that we can be doing in our daily life to bring that romance back, to bring that love back, to bring the self-love back? And that's another area that we focus on, because when we're not loving ourselves, when we're not being empathetic with ourselves, when we're not giving ourselves grace and space, how are we supposed to give it to someone else?
Yes, yes, yes. So much yes to that one. Absolutely.
So yeah. And then of course,
Caitlin says, I've learned to balance of venting and oversharing. Hubs really stressed that to me. He values that intimacy and trust. That's awesome, Caitlin, because not all of them want to hear any of it. So that's actually really good. And yeah, I can see it being a balancing act, right? To vent a little bit, but not go overboard. Yeah. Because you don't want to make them feel like they're doing everything wrong and
no,
things are horrible and whatever, when it's just a little bit of like, oh, I'm frustrated in this moment. So
exactly. And then be mindful, our friends love us and care about us. So if all we ever do is complain about our relationship, they're like, well, you're in a crappy one. You need to get out of that.
yeah.
Because we haven't given. So
Yeah. No, it is important to also talk about the positives. Absolutely. And both to anyone that we're sharing with, but also to our partners, I think, right? Like, it's important that we're, like you said, after date night, saying thank you.
Yeah.
It's so small, but it's so huge, right? It has such an impact. And letting them know that there's positives as well. Then when you are venting, they're not feeling attacked, right? Because they know that there's both sides of it. So
Sides of it, exactly. And then believing that from, and again, this is why it's important that, we are coming from a place of being in a fairly healthy relationship. When we understand partner's intentions are generally pure, that something they may be saying or a way they may be acting is just in that moment, as opposed to that's who they are at their core.
Yes, that's huge. Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay. So where can people find you online? I know that you are going to be starting a group soon, which I'm excited for. And I think for the most part, you operate out of just your profile.
My profile, and I have a Facebook page called The Language of Relationships. So the links, actually, I'm going to drop some links where anyone who wants to stay connected can.
Yeah.
So, and my DMs are open. So add me as a friend, send me a DM, we'll chat. And yes, I'll send the links to the page, and I am opening up a group called The Language of Relationships soon. So we'll join the wait list so that when we start the group, we can start have our conversations and interactions from day one.
Yes. So everybody keep your eyes open for that sign up list. I will definitely be joining it. And don't forget, Kim, to drop your links in the comments in this post, as well as I know you're going to share some more throughout the rest of today. And I just want to officially say thank you for this week. You've done an amazing job being in the limelight. I know it was a little bit nerve-wracking for you, but you've done really, really well with it. And there has been just a ton of value. So for anyone who has not been around, I know there's some people that just aren't on Facebook a whole lot. If you're watching this, go back and look for her posts, because there was just a ton of awesome ideas that you can use in your relationship. And like she said, connect with her, because she is she's fantastic. I've really enjoyed this week, Kim. Thank you so much. And Caitlin says to put her on the wait list. So there you go.
Caitlin has been a big fan of that date night checklist from day one.
Awesome. And I love watching the connections as they get built in this group. This is my favorite part of the whole limelight thing, is just watching people connect, and I know how that ripples outwards, right? And so that's kind of my whole reason behind doing it. I just love it. So awesome. Well, we're at about 40 minutes. No, it's good. I mean, it's really, we could keep going. I know that some people will just stop watching, right? Because it gets too long. So we don't want to go on too long, but I appreciate everyone who showed up live. Don't forget, if you are watching the replay, to drop a hashtag replay. If you have any questions for Kim, tag her in your questions so that she gets the notification. I know that she'll love to answer your questions. So yeah, thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Rim.
And we'll see you around the group.
You will. Cats.
Awesome. Bye.